So hello everyone, and welcome to our today's event. Marta, it was a nice entrance.
Sorry, I just realized that I was not muted when I entered. Sorry.
Okay, so hello again everyone. Hello Saber. My name is Slim. I'm the education manager at Social Hackers Academy. Hi, Saber. Let me start with thanking all of you that are joining us today for this interesting topic, an introduction to TypeScript. And let me butcher some names and acknowledge your presence today with us here. So hi, Alper. Hi, Harry, Dimitar, Ernesto, Farhad, Feyami, hi, Hermes, Konstantinos, hi, Lisa, Mansour, 3 Mohammed in a row, Panos, Peggy, Sertaj, hi, Snehal, Sondos, Thanasis, Basileos, Vincent, hi, Yasmin, and hi, Zakaria, and hi to everyone that will join us after we start. I think I'm getting better at not butchering names. I think so, anyway. So, my name is Tim, and let me give a quick presentation about what we do at Social Hackers Academy. So, Social Hackers Academy, we started back in 2017. And we started with the offline model. So we were teaching on-site. Then after the pandemic, we switched to the online model, 100% fully online. So all our classes are happening remotely. Our goal is to democratize tech education to everyone, and especially for a vulnerable group of people. And so that includes, I was reading the messages, so that's why I love to Hermes' message. Right now we are teaching front-end and full-stack web development. Our course is 6 months, 7 months in total, with 1 month for the final project. And very soon we will launch our collaboration with the Amazon Web Service Restart program. So this is a scoop I've been giving here today. So let me now welcome Saber. Saber is a friend of mine. I know him since a couple of years now. We used to study together, and today he will be presenting the TypeScript topic. So Saber, the stage is yours if you want to present yourself, and then start your presentation. And for the questions, let's keep the question till the end, so you can drop them in the Q&A section or in the chat, and we will get back to them when the presentation is over. Saber, the stage is yours.
Thank you, Slim. And it's thank you all for this invitation. Thank you for having me today. Glad to see you again, my friend.
It's been a while.
Yeah. We should meet, by the way. So Slim contacted me about talking with you guys in Social Hackers Academy. You do a great job, really, spreading knowledge and giving these amazing courses that you make for people. So we choose our talk today about we choose to talk about TypeScript, which is really now an a higher in-demand skill. If you already do JavaScript, the language that we.
Sorry to interrupt, but I think you forgot to turn on your camera. So we're not.
Sorry about that. Yeah. Now it's clear now.
We see you.
Hi everyone again.
Hello. Thank you.
So we choose today to talk about TypeScript. If you already do JavaScript, the language that we all love, and if you do develop web application, most of the time you will use JavaScript. So I will start with some slides. So let me share my screen. Okay, I will change desktop. Here we go. I think you see my screen now?
Yeah, we can see your screen.
Okay. So what is TypeScript? Let's start the... So what is TypeScript? So TypeScript is an open source language. It's not a totally new language, but it's a superset of JavaScript. What does that mean? It means that any TypeScript, or sorry, any JavaScript code is totally viable TypeScript code. And TypeScript add extra functionality or features to JavaScript. So TypeScript is an open source. It's created by Microsoft. And you can, of course, they have a repo on GitHub. You can look at that. So now, why we should consider using TypeScript? Do you hear me, guys? The sound is clear. I just want to make sure.
Yeah, we can hear you very well.
Because there is a noise on the background. There is some construction near me. Sorry about that. I think they will complete soon.
I think we will do with that. So don't worry.
Yeah. Okay. So now, why I consider using TypeScript? So as we said, TypeScript add more functionality to JavaScript, and the main advantage it will reduce bugs related to type checking. So as we know, JavaScript is a dynamically typed language. What does that mean? That means in JavaScript, you don't specify the type when you declare a variable. So there is two categories of programming language. There is the static types, statically typed, sorry, and the dynamically typed. For the static type, there is, for example, Java, C#, C++, C. All those are called statically types languages, which mean in the moment when you declare a variable, you must specify the type of that variable. Rather with JavaScript, for example, which is dynamically typed, we don't need to do that. But with the spread using of JavaScript, now we have front-end frameworks. JavaScript also can run on the backend with the help of Node.js. So many problems raises, and one of those problems is type checking. So when you run, for example, when you have a big JavaScript code base, you will there is some errors that occur, and really debugging without using a tool like TypeScript is really hard. So TypeScript solve this problem by producing or by offering type checking capability to JavaScript. It's not mandatory, or it's not it's optional, I mean, to add types. It provides also auto completion out of the box. We will see this later. A good IDE support. It's also an open source library, and you can like use advanced features like ES6 features that you can't use with regular JavaScript. The JavaScript now has evolved with the introduction of classes, but in the previous version those are not there. So TypeScript provided this in earlier stage. Okay, now let's code. This is the part that we all love. So let me open my terminal. Okay, let's create a director, call it intro to, sorry, I need to make intro to TypeScript. I can't spell that correct. Yes. Change directory to intro to TypeScript. Okay. So now let's create an Npm project or JavaScript project. Let me check which version of Node I'm using. Okay.
You should upgrade that.
Sorry?
I said you should upgrade that. Like
yeah, we will upgrade that now.
Version 16.
Yeah, I think I started this one. Yeah, it's there. So now we are using Node version 16. We are good. So let's create an empty project. Init. Oh, it's only init without the dash. Okay, package name, description, intro to TypeScript. Entry point, okay. Let's keep it index.js. We don't have test command. Negative editorial don't have yet. Okay. Yes. Okay. Now let's open our code editor. And we are set up to go. Okay. So now we have a new project. So TypeScript is it's a library you can install with npm. So we will go ahead and do that. So we will do npm e for install, or you can just type install like this. TypeScript. Okay, TypeScript, that's correct. Hit enter. Oh, install, there is an extra R. Okay, we'll wait some time until he installs. It shouldn't take too much time.
Maybe in the meanwhile, let's create the file index.js if you're gonna use it.
Yeah, right. That's a good idea. So this is our file index.js, and let's create another file. Call it index.js. So you notice here I created there is a file called index.ts. So this is the extension that you will use when you write a TypeScript code. So I will delete this. You will see next Y. Move the trash. Okay. So we will begin with the basics.
Maybe
so in TypeScript,
if you can zoom a bit, Saber, so we can see what you're typing.
Oh yeah, of course, yeah.
Thanks.
Let me zoom. This good? I mean, you can see very well now, right? Hello?
Sorry, I was answering and I forgot that I was muted. So yeah, we can see.
Okay. 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 So in JavaScript, you will do, for example, let name, for example, equal let's do sub. Okay. So okay. So here we need to do like export scope. We will see why again later, because we need to add the configuration file. So now, so there is no TypeScript here. So it's just a regular JavaScript.
Yeah, TypeScript is still not.
I think it's still.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is he installing or not?
No, I'm not sure actually. It should be moving or doing something. Yeah, now it's.
No, he's moving.
Okay, so that answers the question.
Bad connection, maybe.
Could be. Could be.
I think I will shut down my camera, maybe.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
To speed up things. Still installing.
And let me check the chat in the meanwhile. All right. Okay. So hi everyone, and hi to those who joined us and still joining. We are 40 people now. That's great. So Ernesto is asking, are you gonna send later recording of the presentation? It will be uploaded tomorrow to our YouTube channel, Ernesto, so you can find it there. Okay, so better, yes, I think this is regarding the the zooming. And what do we use TypeScript? So Sabrina is asking, what do we use TypeScript for?
What do you use TypeScript for?
Yeah. What do we use TypeScript for? So I think.
So TypeScript adds extra. Yeah.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Okay, so I will answer this very quickly. So TypeScript add extra functionality to JavaScript. So we know JavaScript is a dynamically typed language, which means you don't specify the type when you declare the variable. So TypeScript gives you this option or this functionality, and this helps you like catch unpredictable bugs, because you may, as we will see here, you may in JavaScript declare a variable that holds a string, then later you can assign it a number, for example, and you may see what's the problem. Okay, sometimes you don't want, like, you were expecting, for example, a string, but you are getting another type. So this predictability that TypeScript gives you, it's a huge benefit. Like, especially in you may not see this in smaller projects, but in bigger projects, this is a big plus. So finally, TypeScript is installed.
Okay. So. Two small other questions before we move on. So Ben Malik is asking if you don't have TypeScript installed globally. Well, I think no. And Sabrine is asking, but don't we have type of operator in JavaScript? So maybe we give
for the first question, you can install TypeScript as a globally with npm. It's just a preference. I choose, like, here to install it in a local project. So it's your preference. Either you want it globally installed or you want installed on the project. For the type of keyword in JavaScript, yes, we have type of. It gives you the type of the variable you are passing as a parameter. But that will be a hassle, really. You don't want to do that by yourself. So TypeScript is made for this. It's you will see, like, the syntax is not like if you already did, for example, C# or Java or C++ or C, for example, you will feel home with TypeScript. It's very familiar. But if you didn't, like, code with those languages, it's completely fine. Like, it's the TypeScript. I think it's easy to learn. Okay. So now, after we install TypeScript, now we will compile our TS file to get a JavaScript file. Why is that? So browsers, of course, doesn't understand TypeScript. So in the end, you will take your JavaScript code and you will execute it in the browser. Sorry. So you need a way to get the JavaScript from your TS code, and TypeScript provide us with a compiler. So let me clear the terminal. Okay. So we will write tsc. We are on the root directory of our project, and give it the name of the file we want to compile. So index.ts. You can omit .ts here because JavaScript will automatically look for TS files. It's not mandatory. We will run this command and we will see. So you will notice here, there is a new file that added, index.js. Let's open it. So as you see here, this is the code that the compiler gave us from this file, from index.ts. And this code, if we run this on the browser, he will understand this code. So this is completely a viable code on the browser, so he can execute it. Let's continue. So for example, let's now give our variable a type. So how we will do that? You will write colon, and then the type you want to give it, string. So our variable here will hold the string. So let's give it, for example, a number. Name equal 4, for example. So instantly here, you see this like twigger line, red line. If you hover over it, you will see this error. Type number is not assignable to type string. So this readable error is given by the TypeScript compiler. So it gives you a readable error that this variable you declare it with a string, you cannot put other type than string. Let's give it a string, for example. Let's give it Alice. And the error goes away. Let's compile it. TSC index. Let's, I didn't save it. Let's compile again. And we see our value. Let's do another variable. Let's minimize this. Let's, for example, let's call it age equal 9. Again, here, if you assign a string here, this is not accepted again, because type string is not assignable to type number. Okay? So you see that you the editor gives you an instant feedback to the mistakes that you do. So it corrects you. And if, for example, give it another variable that it's number, the error goes away. So you notice here we didn't declare the type. We didn't put the type here. So how TypeScript knows that this is a number? If you hover over the variable here, you will see that the age is of type number, because TypeScript, in the moment when you declare the variable, he will conclude the type from the variable, from the value, sorry. So if you give it a value that it's a number, he will implicitly assign type number to the variable. So you don't have to add the type here, because TypeScript is smart enough to understand that. Okay? And the same here. for example, if we initialize this with a string, he will understand type string. Okay, type string. So what are the types that exist? Let us declare another variable. Let's call it can fly. True. Okay, it's clear that this is a Boolean variable. If we hover here, so this gives you another error that states this variable is not is never here. Let's console log it. Try. So TypeScript here understands that this is a Boolean. So these are the basic 3 types in JavaScript. So these already are there in existing JavaScript, but there is no type checking, and this is the extra feature that TypeScript gives. So if we save here our file and compile again, tsc index, let's have a look to our compiled file. So there is no types here because this is a regular JavaScript. We have our variables from here. Let's quickly execute this with node, and we have true because we console logged this can fly variable. Okay. So this is the basics. Let's have a look to config file. So with TypeScript, you can add a config file. It must be called tsconfig.json, and you can specify here many things that we will see soon. Let's bring the config file from TypeScript documentation. I think it's let's search for the tsconfig. tsconfig. And let's copy from the reference. I think they have an example here. Okay, let's copy this. So there is a bunch of options here. You can activate or deactivate some features of TypeScript. You can specify the module here. Here, no implicit any. We will see it later. Here, you specify either on the time and the compilation time you want to remove the comments. So if you notice here, there is a comment from the original file. So if we give it true here, the compiler will remove the comments for us on the final file. There is many other option you can add here. By the way, TypeScript documentation is huge and well written also. You can have a look at it. Now let's look to other types that are used. Let's look to the arrays. So let array equal an empty array, for example. And we will give it a type. So we will say that this array will hold only string variables. So this is the annotation, or this is the syntax, sorry. So it reads a string array, or there is another syntax that you can use, array2, array using the generic type, and specify the element types here. We will see the syntax later. So you can use either one of these. I personally prefer this, and most of the time you will see the syntax. It's less verbose and less characters to write, and also readable enough. Let's have some elements in our array. For example, 1, 2, and 3. But if we give it a number here, it will say type number is not assignable to type string, because we declared before here that the element of our array is a string. So you cannot assign or put other than string elements. There is another type which call it tuples, which are fixed arrays. So array 2 equal, for example, you will have string as the first element, number, and boolean. And you will say, so here our string have exactly 3 elements with string, number, and boolean as the first, second, and third element. So we must give them with the respective types. So the first element is a string, a number, and a boolean. Let's differ the order. For example, we can put here false, a boolean variable, and a number. This is also not acceptable because you have to provide the elements in the same exact order here as you declared, string, then number, then boolean. So we must give him a number, then a boolean. And now he's happy. Okay, let's compile. And by the way, if you still have errors here and you compile the file, the compiler will not stop you. So he will compile even if there is errors. You may ask why. The reason is the creator of TypeScript assuming that the developer knows more or knows better. Because you may have some errors, but you are very confident that you are correct on that line, for example. But still, the TypeScript doesn't disagree. So the TypeScript creator assuming or give you the power to compile and will not stop you. So let's move on to another types, which are union. So let's imagine like if you have, for example, a variable that is a string and a number at the same time, how you can manage this. So let's create another variable. I'm not creative here in the variable name, so you can notice this. So for example, this variable we wanted, as we said to be a string and a number at the same time. So we can do something like this. We will say it's a string and a number or a number. So for example, if we give him 9 here, he will accept it. If we give him some string here, also this is accepted. Because this variable can hold string and number values. This is called union type because it can have two types in the same time. So you may TypeScript give you this functionality. You may have this use case in your code, and the option is there. So let's go to object now. How you can define an object. So let's create an object. Let's call it person. Give it a value. Have name. Let's give him John as the code editor suggests, and H. Okay. Now, for example, if this will be something like this. So if we, for example, call a property name here, let's console log it. This will work, of course, because name exists on the type person. But let's give a property that doesn't exist. For example, first name. Which not there. So first name, he says here, first name does not exist on type, name, and age. So remember when we say that the TypeScript compiler is smart enough to conclude the type, the same thing here with objects. So we give him two properties with name and age, and he conclude the type because here we have a string, so the variable name should be string, and the same for age. We can explicitly here put the type by saying this is an object that have a name property, that it's a string, and an age property with the type number. So it's the same thing. Either we can explicitly type here, or we can do this, and TypeScript will magically work for us. Okay, let me correct this. Okay, so there is another way to declare object, which is using something called an interface. Let's minimize this, that we can type freely. So TypeScript introduced the interface. Of course, this doesn't exist on JavaScript. There is the class keyword, but we don't have interfaces. How we will declare an interface? We will type interface and the name of the interface. That's called person. And an interface is simply it will hold the structure of your object. It's the blueprint of your object. So you define here how you would like your object to be. So you can reuse this type later. So we will have a person that has a name property with type string, and here of course you need to specify the type, because there is no initialization here, because the interface should be the declaration, and there is no implementation here. It just you declare the properties and age of type number. So we can use this type here. Let me move this up front so we can use it. You can see better. And we will say this object age of type person. And you can say, for example, if we call another property here that doesn't exist, last name, it works the same way. So with this person interface, we declare the type once, and we can use it anyway in our code. Sorry about that. So if we declare a second variable called person2 equal, and we will give it the type person. And you see instantly here the error that type object or empty object is missing the following properties from type person, name and age. We will add this here, name, let's call James, and age 8. So with this way, we declared our types once and we use it many times. Let me fix this. Let's copy this. Okay, how about functions? Can we use TypeScript with functions? Of course we do. Functions. Let's declare a function. Let's use this syntax function. Add. So this is a function that will add, a simple function that will add 2 numbers. We will give it number 1, number 2, and it will return number 1 plus number 2. Okay. So yeah, there is the typo here. So let's use this function. Let sum equal add, and let's give it 2 number. Okay. Add 3 and 8. Let's very quickly console this. Console log sum. Let's compile this. Okay. Let's run our JavaScript file, and we see here the results 11. But we didn't add any type definition here or any types here. So what if I pass a string here instead of number? This is not a number. Okay. Will this still work? Let's see. Compile again. I think I didn't save. Okay. This is not number. Let's save. Let's compile again. And he concatenate them. So with JavaScript, if you give a number and a string, he will concatenate the two variables or the two values. And this is an unpredictable result that you can see with JavaScript. So let's fix this with TypeScript. So over here in the function declaration, we can add the type that we are expecting. So here we are telling TypeScript we are expecting a num. So the same here. And we instantly see the error. See? We give it a number again. And now everything should work correctly. Okay? So you see in action how TypeScript can help you. So we saw how we can do that with functions. We can, for example, add very quickly another thing here worth mentioning, which is generics. So with TypeScript, we have the concept of type that can take another type as a parameter. So it's the same way, if you want to understand it, as a function that takes a parameter. So for example, let's copy again this. Can you use it? And we can, for example, here, but let's add a property here. Let's call this property a profession. Okay. So this property will differ from person to person. So we can use this syntax. We open angle brackets. We give it T as a type. So you can put any type, you can name it here, anything you want. but most of the time you will see use it as the type. And this property will have the type T. So here, because we use it here, so we need to rename this person2. Okay. So let's create very quickly another object here. Let's call him Jane. He's of type person2 here. Let's have name of Jane and age 3. Okay, let's give it 30.
I was waiting for you to put the profession.
Exactly, yeah. So, profession, for example, developer. Okay, I didn't see developer that he is 3 years old.
Yeah, that's it.
So here there is a readable error, a nice error here that says generic type person2 requires one type argument. So what TypeScript saying here is that this type requires a parameter. So how we pass a parameter to a generic type? We use angle brackets again. So we open and close angle brackets, and we pass the type here. So for example, here will be a string, which is the type we use it here. So this is the way that you use generic types. Of course, there is many use cases for this. There is many use cases that you don't know the type upfront of all the property of an object, so you can pass them as a parameter. There is one thing I forgot to mention here. There is extra types, basic extra types that are provided by TypeScript, which are any and now. So let's begin with any. If we declare a variable here, let's var2, and we don't provide an initial value here. So by default, TypeScript will give it the type any. So what does that mean? It means literally that this variable can hold any type. So we basically deactivated the check typing of TypeScript. You can do this syntax, explicitly assign or give this variable the type any. If, for example, assign a string, it will work. If we assign, for example, number, it will also work, because it can hold any type. So you may ask why this exists when we want to do this. For example, if you have a big project that is written in JavaScript and you want to migrate to TypeScript, so with using of any, this can help, because the integration is really hard, especially if you have a large code base that is written in JavaScript. This helpful type can help you. Another type is unknown. So we will declare another variable with the type unknown. So this, you use this when you don't know the type upfront. So we are not sure what type we can give this variable. So we can do this handy type unknown, and then as soon as we assign a variable, for example 3, assign a number value here, for example, TypeScript will give this type a number. So here it will give him still unknown. Let's, for example, var3 and give him a string, for example. No, it still works. Is the syntax correct? It's unknown. So we assign a number. And then give him a string. Okay, let's compile. And I'm not sure why this didn't work. Maybe I'm wrong about this. Let's check again. As you see, a string. Still type number. Okay. It's never. Okay. Anyway, this is the difference is this can hold any type, but this at a moment of time when you give it the type, it cannot hold any values with the type that you give. For example, let's give it a number, for example. Type number. We declared already. Okay. Maybe I am wrong about this. I need to check it. Okay. So you understand the type any. I'm not sure about the type unknown. But with type any, you can give any type to a variable, meaning you deactivate TypeScript. And why you want to do this? As I said, if you want to migrate from JavaScript to TypeScript, this can be handy. And TypeScript give you this option. So I think we give a nice intro here. There is more to cover, really. We are scratching the surface here. I encourage everyone to see the documentation is very concise. There is well written. You can do the basic section here. So there is many examples here. So I encourage everyone to have a look at it. And for you, Tom.
Thank you very much, Saber, for this great introduction to TypeScript. It was really interesting, and we are running out of time a bit, so let's go quickly through the questions in the chat. So Mohammed is asking, I know that Angular is using TypeScript. Can React use TypeScript? So I will answer this very quick. So Angular is a framework, is a front-end framework based on JavaScript. And TypeScript is an extension, let's say, or a set of superpower that you can add to JavaScript. So, and since React is also a library built on top of JavaScript, so you can also use it, I mean, TypeScript with React. And new projects and many, like nowadays, you will see more and more React projects using TypeScript. Maybe Saber, you want to add
I can add to this. Yeah, I can add to this, Liam. So since the Angular 2, which means the version of Angular that comes after Angular JS, it's completely written with TypeScript. So the people at Angular embrace TypeScript, and they do this from the start. So if you go to GitHub and take a look to the Angular code base, you will see it's all written with TypeScript. Of course, you can do this with React. The React is JS library, JavaScript library. It's not written with TypeScript, but you can, of course, use the TypeScript with any JavaScript library or framework.
Cool. So the next question is from Dimitar. He's asking, is TypeScript hard to learn? Well, now that you watched this session, you tell us, Dimitar, what you think, maybe. Meanwhile, until we reach your answer, let's go through the next questions. Ibrahim is asking, is TypeScript another language? So no, TypeScript is
it's a superset of JavaScript.
Superset of JavaScript, yeah. So it's not a complete.
You can call it, yeah. It's not a completely like independent language. It's a programming language, but we cannot. It's a new language. So if you know JavaScript already, you are good to go with TypeScript.
And it's built on, and it. So you mean like if you are using TypeScript, so it's built on top of JavaScript. I mean, it just need to be compiled back to JavaScript.
So if we see here on the let's open the code here. So if you put here only JavaScript code, this code will work, because any JavaScript code is totally viable TypeScript code. And you can, of course, you cannot do TypeScript here because this is a JS file, JavaScript file. But here you can completely write JavaScript. But of course, you will lose the functionality of TypeScript if you install it and didn't use it. That's completely useless.
Okay, thank you. So, and then Farhad says, so it means with TypeScript, the code will be compiled. So yes, and this was answered at the beginning, if I remember, of the session. Yeah, it is compiled in order to be executed on the browser, because the browser doesn't understand TypeScript, so it needs to be compiled back to JavaScript.
And in the config file, you can actually here, just to put here, you can specify the target. For example, if you put target here, just very quick here. For example, you can do, for example, ES6. And the compiler will compile TypeScript to ES6 JavaScript version of JavaScript. But now he's compiling to, I think, ES5, which is the version that the browser understands. So you can do here in the config files. Okay.
Cool. Then Mohammed asks how to get into root. I'm not sure.
How to get
into root. I think he asked this question when you were creating the files and folders. So you need just to change directory to the directory of your project. In this case, it's intro to TypeScript, the name of the folder, and that's what we call the root folder of your project.
Yeah, exactly.
I hope
if
that...
you mean that you are in the directory, so this is your root directory here, this directory.
Yeah. Then Hermes, little tip for people watching: get the extension error lens for VS Code, and you'll be able to see the errors written out on the screen directly without having to hover over the red lines. So this is a very useful tip, Hermes, and it can...
What's the name of the extension?
Error lens.
Okay.
So it will give you the error in front of the line, I think, where the error is occurring. You don't have to hover and
that will be
that will save you a lot of time. Yeah. I had a question when you was talking about... Thank you, Hermes, by the way, for this tip. For the uni, can it have more than 2 types?
And the union. This one?
Yeah. So here we said it could be a string or a number. So can we add another type? I mean, in the
of course, you can put as many as you want. So it can be a number, Boolean.
Okay. Cool.
You can put any type you want.
All right. Then Mohammed Sanon, maybe I can simply add npm package to correct my variable type. To correct variable, do I need TypeScript? What is the other advantage of TypeScript? So actually, TypeScript is an npm package, technically speaking. So you need to install it through npm to have this type declaration. And I really don't know if there are some npm packages out there that correct the types, but you can maybe Google that.
You can, for example, use another statically typed language on the web, like CoffeeScript, or I think it uses the types, or you can use C++ with WebAssembly, but the combination of JavaScript and TypeScript is the most used.
Okay. So, and he's asking what are the other advantages of TypeScript instead of the types? I think from its name, it's self-explanatory. So TypeScript. So maybe Saber, you have something else to add?
Yeah. So the main advantage is reducing bugs. So as we already saw in the example of function here, when we provide a string instead of number here. So JavaScript will not give you the error. He will just execute the code, and he will not even warn you or give you an error. Mm-hmm. Because in JavaScript, if you give a number and the operator plus and then a string, he will just concatenate and will not give you a number. So this is not this is an unpredictable behavior that you don't want in your code. So with TypeScript, you completely eliminate those unpredictable errors. So I think this is the big advantage of TypeScript. Another thing is, I think I didn't talk about this. I said I will demonstrate it here very quickly. For example, if we put Jane, then dot, the editor will give you an intelligence of what are the properties that you can use on this object. So for example, if you didn't specify
so even if you don't have the intelligence extension installed, it will do the trick. I mean.
No, actually, you don't have to install anything. Mm-hmm. This is fully supported by the code editor. Mm-hmm. So TypeScript have a good IDE support. Okay. So it's already integrated on the editor. So this is really helpful also to know which properties to call or which method to call or functions to call on your object. It's open source, and also you can use many features of earlier version of JavaScript or ECMAScript, let's say.
Okay, thank you, Saber. Then the next question. Thank you again, Hermes, for the link for the documentation of the TypeScript union. Then Farhad, can we make JavaScript server-side with TypeScript? Yes, definitely.
I think the question: can you use TypeScript on the
server side,
backend server side?
Mm-hmm.
Of course, TypeScript will be compiled and run whenever JavaScript runs. So if JavaScript runs on the server, you can use, of course, TypeScript on the server.
All right, great. And we have another question in the Q&A. So anonymous question. So it's just declare types. I think we need a real example because so far I can't see the use of it. I think this was the beginning of the presentation, and I think we had some real examples. So I think that answers the question. So
okay.
I think this is it. Thank you very much again, Saber, for your time. If you can stop sharing, please. Thank you very, very much for your time and for this amazing presentation. Thank you, everyone.
I'm really pleased to be here with you.
Thank you, Saber. Also, thank you, everyone, for joining us today. And it's always nice to have you among us. And can't wait for the next event to see you all there. So thank you, everyone.
Of course.
And have a lovely evening and end of the week.
Thank you.
Thank you, Saber. Bye-bye.